Okay, let's talk about car prices right now because we know they're still pretty high, especially with the interest rates as high as they are. And if you're in the market for a new or used vehicle, it may be out of reach.
Every brand says 2026 will change everything. New designs, new tech, a new era. But under the surface, something isn't right. Prices are climbing, timelines keep slipping, and the fine print tells a story no brochure ever will. The shocking truth is that 5 of the year's most hyped cars may be hiding more compromise than innovation. Before the first keys are handed over, you need to know which ones deliver and which ones could quietly drain your savings. Number 5. The Honda Prelude 2026. Honda wants you to believe this is a spiritual successor to one of the most beloved sport coupes in automotive history. They've rolled out the Heritage. They've mentioned the Civic Type R suspension components. They've shown you that gorgeous retro modern design language that makes every automotive journalist weak in the knees. But here's what they're not putting in bold font at the top of the press release. $42,000 for a front-wheel drive hybrid with 200 horsepower and absolutely zero chance of rowing your own gears. Let that sink in for a moment. $42,000 for a car making the same power as a base model Civic Hybrid, with the same 2.0-liter engine, the same electric motors, the same single-speed transmission that absolutely cannot be had with a manual gearbox no matter how much you beg, plead, or threaten to buy a Mazda Miata instead. Honda will tell you about the adaptive dampers borrowed from the Type R. They'll explain how the Honda S Plus shift system simulates gear changes with paddle shifters, creating what they call an engaging grand touring experience. They'll point to the Brembo brakes and the dual-axis front suspension and the premium Bose sound system that comes standard, because apparently leather seats and good speakers justify charging sports car money for a hybrid that can't break into the 5s to 60. But here's the reality check that should terrify any enthusiast considering this car. The Toyota GR86 starts at $31,000. The Subaru BRZ starts at $30,000. Both offer true rear-wheel drive. Both offer manual transmissions. Both make more power. Both deliver the kind of pure, unfiltered driving engagement that made the original Prelude legendary in the first place. Yes, they sacrifice fuel economy, but if you're buying a sport coupe primarily for gas mileage, you've already lost the plot. Honda's defense is that the Prelude isn't trying to be a track weapon. It's a grand tourer, they insist. A daily drivable sport coupe that just happens to return 46 miles per gallon. But this is where the cognitive dissonance becomes deafening. Grand tourers are supposed to eat highway miles with effortless power and refined comfort. They're supposed to make you feel special. The Prelude makes you feel like you paid a $15,000 premium for adaptive cruise control and simulated engine noises. The enthusiast community is split right down the middle. Half see a beautifully designed hybrid that proves you can have efficiency and emotion. The other half see a neutered compromise wearing the badge of a car that once defined affordable performance. Both groups might be right, but at $42,000, remember that's more than a Civic Type R cost just 3 years ago, the margin for error evaporates completely. And here's the knockout punch. Dealers are already talking markups. 2026 allocation numbers suggest limited availability, which means that $42,000 sticker could easily become $50,000 before you ever sit in the driver's seat for a front-wheel drive hybrid with no manual option, making Civic Hybrid power numbers. Honda has created a beautiful car, no one can argue otherwise, but they've also created a pricing problem that makes you question who exactly this vehicle is for. It's too expensive for young enthusiasts who made the original Prelude a cult classic. It's too compromised for wealthy buyers who could just purchase a Porsche 718 Cayman for $5,000 more. It exists in this weird middle ground where nostalgia meets electrification meets a price tag that makes you wonder if Honda forgot what made the Prelude special in the first place. You've seen how fast these markups hit. Subscribe now. One click saves you from the next $3,000 mistake. Number 4. The Rivian R2 2026. Rivian needs this vehicle to work, not wants, needs. The company has spent the last 3 years proving it can build compelling electric trucks and SUVs. The R1S and R1T have earned genuine respect from critics and owners alike. But respect doesn't pay the bills when you're losing nearly $2 billion annually. The R2 was supposed to change everything. More affordable, more accessible, more mainstream. The vehicle that would finally make Rivian profitable. Except there's a problem. Several problems, actually. And they're getting worse the closer we get to production. First, Let's talk about that $45,000 starting price. Rivian has been incredibly firm about maintaining this target despite everything happening in the automotive world right now. Tariffs on imported parts, rising battery costs, supply chain chaos that's making even established manufacturers nervous. Rivian says they're committed to $45,000, but that asterisk next to the number on their website tells a different story. Quote, "Actual pricing may vary. That's not confidence. That's a company leaving themselves an escape hatch." But price uncertainty is almost quaint compared to the production timeline disaster unfolding in real time. Rivian originally planned to build the R2 at a brand new facility in Georgia with capacity for 400,000 units annually. That plant was supposed to open in 2024, then it got pushed and pushed again. And now, Rivian has completely changed strategies. They're going to start R2 production at their existing Normal, Illinois facility, a move they claim will save over $2 billion, but will severely limit initial production capacity. Here's what that actually means for consumers. Yes, production starts in the first half of 2026. That part is technically true. But production at volume, the kind of production that could get you an R2 without waiting years, that won't happen until the Georgia plant finally opens, which current estimates suggest won't be until the end of 2028. 4 more years, if everything goes perfectly. So when Rivian talks about the R2 launching in 2026, they're being technically accurate in the most misleading way possible. Current R1 owners get priority. The $100 deposit holders, and there are tens of thousands of them, get in line behind existing customers. If you're a new buyer considering an R2 right now, you're looking at a wait that could stretch well into 2028 or beyond. And that's assuming Rivian survives long enough to fulfill those orders. The company's third quarter 2025 results tell a sobering story. They delivered barely over 13,000 vehicles and had to cut their annual delivery forecast for the second time in 1 year. They're burning through cash. They're losing market share. The expiration of the federal EV tax credit hit them harder than almost any other manufacturer. Yes, the R2 qualifies for the credit since it's built in America. But that credit doesn't exist anymore. Tesla's Model Y dominates this exact same segment with better charging infrastructure and a head start measured in years. The Hyundai Ioniq 5 just dropped prices by nearly $10,000 to compensate for the lost tax credit. Ford's Mustang Mach-E continues to improve. Even the Chevrolet Equinox EV now starts at $35,000. The R2's theoretical $45,000 starting price looked competitive 18 months ago. Today, it's just middle of the pack. And that's before dealer markups and limited availability drive real-world transaction prices even higher. Rivian has designed a genuinely appealing vehicle. The R2 looks fantastic. The specs sound great, over 300 miles of range, tri-motor performance variants that hit 60 in under 3 seconds, native Tesla supercharger compatibility. On paper, this should be the hit Rivian desperately needs. But in practice, you're being asked to trust a company losing billions that they can deliver a vehicle on time at the promised price, while simultaneously figuring out how to become profitable for the first time in their existence. That's not investment advice. That's a leap of faith. And leaps of faith cost $45,000 minimum, with no guarantee your number ever comes up in the production queue. At least Honda can build theirs. Rivian's still chasing production. But the next story shows how politics, not engineering, can wreck a great SUV overnight. Number 3. Hyundai Palisade Hybrid 2026. The original Palisade changed everything for Hyundai. It proved the Korean manufacturer could compete directly with Toyota and Honda in the most competitive segment of the American market. Over 110,000 units sold in 2024. Industry awards, rave reviews, residual values that shocked everyone. The Palisade became the accessible, value-packed alternative to the Highlander and Pilot, offering Genesis-level luxury at mainstream prices. Now Hyundai has made it better. The 2026 Palisade comes completely redesigned, with more interior space, more technology, and for the first time ever, a hybrid powertrain making 329 horsepower, with an estimated 619 miles of total range. This should be the ultimate family SUV. Powerful, efficient, practical, luxurious. Starts at just over $45,000 for the hybrid, which is only about $4,000 more than the base V6 model. Here's the catastrophic problem. It's built exclusively in South Korea, and the current administration has imposed a 25% tariff on vehicles imported from that country. Do the math. That's roughly $11,000 added to the price of every single Palisade, gas and hybrid, before it even reaches port. The base SE that should start around $39,000 suddenly costs $50,000. That mid-range SEL Premium jumping from the mid-40s to nearly $60,000. The top trim calligraphy approaching $70,000 for a Hyundai 3-row SUV. You know what else costs around $70,000? A Genesis GV80, a BMW X5, a Mercedes GLE, actual luxury vehicles that don't share platforms with the Kia Telluride. And speaking of the Telluride, here's where this situation goes from bad to absolutely brutal for Hyundai. The Telluride, Kia's version of essentially the same SUV, is built in West Point, Georgia. Zero tariffs, zero markup. The Telluride's price remains completely unchanged, while its Korean twin becomes a luxury-priced vehicle overnight. Hyundai is being vague about how they'll handle this. They're talking about absorbing some costs. They're mentioning possible incentives. They're hoping tariff policy might change before deliveries really ramp up later this year. But here's the reality. Hyundai cannot absorb $11,000 per vehicle without bleeding money on every sale. The company has shareholders. They have profit targets. They have a fiduciary responsibility to not intentionally lose money just to maintain market share. Some analysts are already suggesting Hyundai might simply pull the Palisade from the US market if tariffs remain at 25%. It's happened before with other manufacturers. When the numbers don't work, you don't sell the car, you just don't. Hyundai has other SUVs they could push instead. The Santa Fe, the Tucson, both US built and tariff-free. The Palisade becomes an unfortunate casualty of trade policy. For consumers already in love with the 2026 redesign, this creates an impossible decision. Do you wait and hope tariffs get reduced or eliminated? Do you jump on a 2025 model before they're gone? Do you just buy a Telluride instead, even though it doesn't have the hybrid option yet and won't until at least 2027? And for current Palisade owners, this situation has created unexpected silver linings. Used Palisade prices are skyrocketing because buyers realize the 2026 model might effectively be unobtainable. 18-month-old Palisades with 20,000 miles are selling for nearly new car prices. Some dealers are offering trade-in values higher than what customers originally paid. It's a bizarre inverse market where the old model becomes more valuable than the new one. Hyundai built a better Palisade. They genuinely improved an already excellent vehicle. But through no fault of their engineering or design teams, they've created a product that may be fundamentally broken before it ever reaches American soil. The hybrid you were excited about? It might never make financial sense. The 3-row family hauler you were planning to buy? It could get canceled entirely. And the absolute worst part? Hyundai knew this was a risk. They've known for months that tariff threats existed. They chose to continue with Korea-only production anyway, because retooling factories and shifting production takes years and costs billions. They gambled on political winds shifting in their favor. Right now, that gamble is failing, and American consumers are going to pay the price, literally, or lose access to a genuinely great vehicle because trade policy made it economically impossible to sell. Hyundai got blindsided by tariffs. But Tesla's next move shows what happens when the problem isn't policy, it's promises. Number 2, Tesla Roadster 2026. We need to talk about Elon Musk's credibility problem, or more specifically, the credibility problem of anyone who still believes the next-generation Tesla Roadster is actually coming. The Roadster was announced at the Tesla Semi-Unveiling event in November of 2017. The spec sheet made jaws drop. 0 to 60 in 1.9 seconds, quarter mile in 8.8 seconds, top speed over 250 miles per hour, 200 kilowatt-hour battery pack, 620 miles of range, and for the surprisingly reasonable price of $200,000, or $250,000 for the limited Founders Series, you could reserve one of the fastest production cars ever created. Deposits opened immediately. $50,000 for Founders Series, $5,000 for base reservations. Within weeks, Tesla had collected tens of millions in customer money for a car that was supposedly going into production in 2020. It's now October of 2025. That's nearly 8 years. Let me list the delays for you because you need to understand the pattern. 2020 became 2021 because of Model 3 and Model Y production priorities. 2021 became 2022 because of supply chain issues. 2022 became 2023 because of chip shortages. 2023 became 2024 because the design wasn't finalized. 2024 became 2025. because production tooling wasn't ready. And now, in the most optimistic scenario, maybe 2026. Maybe. The excuses have evolved over time, but the result remains identical. No car. 8 years of no car. 8 years while deposit holders' money sat in Tesla's accounts, earning the company interest while they waited for a vehicle Elon Musk tweets about maybe twice a year to confirm it still exists. And about those specs, several industry analysts have publicly stated the claimed performance numbers might not even be physically possible with current battery technology. To get the claimed range, you need massive battery capacity, but that battery weight would make the acceleration claims impossible. You can have one or the other. You cannot have both, unless you're inventing new laws of physics. But let's say Tesla solves the physics problem. Let's say they finalize the design and start production in 2026. Here's the problem nobody's discussing. Deposit holders locked in prices from 2017. The Founder Series was $250,000. The base model was $200,000. That was when the Model S Plaid didn't exist. That was before the Lucid Air Sapphire. That was before Rimac and Pininfarina. And every other electric hypercar manufacturer showed what's possible with 7-figure price tags. Do you genuinely believe Tesla will honor $200,000 reservations for a car that now has to compete against vehicles costing twice that much? Especially when Elon has already stated multiple times that final production pricing could be significantly higher. Those early reservations are going to get a rude awakening when Tesla finally offers conversion to purchase agreements. And even if Tesla honors the original prices, do early deposit holders really want to buy into what's become an 8-year-old design? The Roadster concept was stunning in 2017. Today, it looks like a slightly angry Model S. The design language has been lapped by competitors. The promised SpaceX option package with cold gas thrusters sounds more like science fiction than engineering. The entire project feels like a relic from a different era of Tesla optimism. Multiple financial analysts have suggested the Roadster may never see production at all. Tesla has pivoted hard toward volume production and mass market appeal. The Cybertruck is finally delivering, barely. The Semi is entering limited production. The upcoming cheaper Model 2 platform needs all hands on deck. Why would Tesla divert engineering resources and manufacturing capacity to a low-volume halo car that won't meaningfully impact the bottom line? Elon's own words at the most recent shareholder meeting are telling. He thanked long-suffering deposit holders and mentioned the Roadster has to come behind the things that have a more serious impact on the good of the world. That's not a man excited about building a supercar. That's a man who's moved on. If you're a deposit holder from 2017 or 2018 or even 2019, you have my genuine sympathy. You believed in a promise that Tesla has failed to keep for nearly a decade. Your $50,000 deposit has been hostage to shifting priorities and production problems, and Elon's attention span. Some of you could have bought and paid off a different sports car in the time you've been waiting. The Roadster might eventually arrive. Stranger things have happened, but if it does show up in 2026, it will be to a market that's changed fundamentally since reservations opened. The competition is faster, more advanced, more exotic. The novelty has worn off. The specs that seemed impossible in 2017 are now merely impressive. And the deposit holders who waited patiently for 8 years will face a difficult question. After all this time, do you still want the car you reserved? Because at this point, the Roadster isn't a vehicle. It's a metaphor for promises deferred indefinitely. 8 years of waiting and still no car. Yet GM somehow found a way to outdo that mistake in reverse. Let's talk about the comeback no one asked for. Number 1. Chevrolet Bolt EV 2026. Wait, did I say the Bolt is the #1 problem? Let me be more specific. The Bolt itself isn't the problem. General Motors' catastrophic misreading of their own product is the problem. Let me take you back to late 2022. The Chevrolet Bolt EV and Bolt EUV were massively successful. Sales were climbing. Customer satisfaction was strong. These were affordable, practical EVs with decent range and none of the headaches early electric vehicles carried. The Bolt proved you didn't need 6-figure prices or exotic styling to make electric vehicles work for normal people. Then GM announced they were killing the Bolt entirely. End of production set for late 2023. No replacement planned. The explanation? GM was transitioning to their Ultium platform, and the Bolt's outdated architecture didn't fit the future strategy. They'd bring out the Equinox EV and Blazer EV instead, at slightly higher price points with better technology. Except customers rebelled. Dealers rebelled. The automotive press roasted GM for abandoning the most successful affordable EV in their lineup, the Equinox EV and Blazer EV, while good vehicles didn't replicate the Bolt's combination of low price and high practicality. And with the federal tax credit expiring and other manufacturers dropping EV prices, GM suddenly realized they'd created a massive hole in their lineup right as the market was shifting toward more affordable electric options. So in summer of 2025, GM announced the Bolt was coming back as a 2026 model built on the new Ultium platform. Starting price supposedly around $30,000 after learning painful lessons about pricing EVs too high. This should be great news. It's not. It's a masterclass in how not to manage a product line and customer expectations. First, everyone who bought a 2023 Bolt expecting it to be a collectible final year model just watched their residual values crater overnight. The car you thought was the last of its kind? Nope, just an outdated version that's about to get replaced by something better and cheaper. Second, current Bolt owners have been driving vehicles with a platform GM itself declared obsolete. These are customers who believed GM when the company said it was the right decision to move away from this architecture. Now GM is bringing that architecture back, which means either the original cancellation was wrong or the resurrection is cynical exploitation of market conditions. Neither answer makes GM look competent. Third, and most importantly, the 2026 Bolt won't arrive until late in the calendar year, which means for most of 2026, GM will have no genuinely affordable EV in their showroom. The Equinox EV starts at $35,000. But transaction prices run much higher. The new Bolt, whenever it actually appears, faces a market where Hyundai and Nissan and even Tesla are all fighting aggressively for the same budget-conscious EV buyers. And we haven't even discussed the brand damage. GM canceled a beloved product, watched competitors fill the void, realized their mistake, and then tried to resurrect the name they'd just finished burying. It's the kind of strategic whiplash that makes consumers wonder if anyone at General Motors headquarters understands the market they're selling into. This entire saga represents modern automotive decision-making at its worst. Cancel the thing that works because it doesn't fit your 5-year plan. Watch the market prove you wrong. Panic and reverse the decision. Pretend you meant to do it this way all along. Hope customers have short memories and shorter attention spans. The 2026 Bolt might be a great electric vehicle. It probably will be. GM learned a tremendous amount from the previous generation, but it will launch into a market that GM themselves made more competitive by abandoning this segment in the first place. And it will carry the baggage of a company that killed it once and could kill it again if corporate strategy shifts with the next quarterly earnings call. So here we are, 5 vehicles, 5 different disasters. The Prelude that costs too much and compromises too much. The Rivian that promises the world while the company burns billions. The Palisade that trade policy might strangle in its crib. The Roadster that time forgot. And the Bolt that rose from the grave only to haunt its maker. This is 2026, where hype